Good afternoon, everyone. We are going to start in just 1 minute. My name is Mary Kate Cunningham. I'm the Chief Public Policy and Governance Officer at ASAE, and really glad to be here with our committee leadership and our staff leadership to talk about the Power of Associations Awards application. So I'm here. Kyle Hayes, our Senior Director of Public Policy, Rachel Lazinski, our Senior Manager of Public Policy, are both working on this program with me, and we are thrilled to have our talented volunteer leaders, to the chair and the vice chair of the committee, Victoria Forlini, CIE MBA, the Chief Strategic Operations Officer and Director of Scientific Meetings and Conferences at the Federation of American Societies for Experimental Biology, and the vice chair of the committee, Jim Potter, the executive director of the Coalition for Healthcare Communication, and both longtime experts on the awards program. And I will hand the floor over to them to share more about the program.
Thanks, Mary Kate, and welcome everyone. As Mary Kate said, I'm Victoria, and I'm the chair of the committee for 2025. We're thrilled that you are actually taking this time out of your schedule to learn a little bit more about the awards program. I've done quite a bit of volunteering with ASAE and with other organizations, and I will say that working with this committee and with these awards is, for me, the most fun and the most rewarding because you get to see all of the amazing work that associations do around the country. So it's terrific every year to work through this. And we're happy to tell you a little bit, Jim and I, today about the awards and the applications to give you some, and maybe some answers to some questions or some tips on the applications. So we're just going to start with a quick overview today, just what we're going to talk about for the next, 45 minutes or so. I think we have an overview slide next. So are the slides up? Let me double check. There we go. All right, perfect. And so today we're just going to tell you a little bit about the awards, just give it a little context, and then basic application information. Hopefully we'll answer some questions there. And then the importance of the essays. That's really where the meat of the judging happens and the meat of the information that you're providing happens. And then we'll give you some application tips as well. So looking at the awards themselves, the Power of Association Awards, I think on the next slide we actually have an old logo, so apologies about that. But this is ASAE's highest honor, really looking at associations that go above and beyond on their mission. There's Summit Awards and a Summit Awards dinner in September of every year. So each year there are 6 Summit Awards that are given based on innovative and mission-focused programs from organizations across the spectrum in the United States. Some are local, regional, state, national, international organizations. Some have a few members and some have tens of thousands of members. We get applications all across the gamut. 6 receive a Summit Award every year. And then we have usually a few dozen gold and silver awards. So these are organizations that have some really terrific programs that we want to show the efforts that they've done and the program work that they've done. We just don't want to have 6 winners. We want to show all of the great work that associations are doing. So we have gold and silver awards as well. When you think about your gold and your silvers or your summit awards, you apply into different categories. And there's usually a few questions around these, like what category do I belong in? Can I apply in multiple categories? So first, let's just look at the categories for a second. So you can see them listed. They do change out time to time because the awards really try to stay in track with how associations are working and where the focus of associations are. So you can see the industry and professional advancement, global development, conscious inclusion, advocacy, and community support and engagement. So with those, there are definitions online, and we can put a link to the information on those so you can see them. But there's just a few sentences that give you an idea of the scoping and the expectations for each category. So as an organization, you do need to decide which one category you can apply in. You cannot apply into multiple categories. And then think about with your essays how you're answering the questions regarding that category and the information surrounding that category. So I've talked about the awards and the number of awards that go out in the basic categories. There's a committee that works. Jim and I are the chair and the vice chair of it every year. They rotate through. You, as an ASAE member, can volunteer to be a member of this committee as well. And you can see the names on here. We are a cross-section of trade associations, professional associations, vendors, just different partners all across the association world. And we come together and make sure that we have representation across the many areas of associations. So membership, meetings, C-suites, looking at IT, just all different areas to make sure that we have a rounded view of all of the applications that are coming in. So looking at this committee and its judging, we do have judging criteria publicly available online, as well as some focus for everybody to look at. Jim's going to go into the judging a little bit and the essays regarding the judging and the focus on those in a few minutes. But really the big pieces to think about are the impact of your project, the reach of your project, and how your work embodies the power of associations. Because a lot of times there are different federations or different collaborations that only associations can have working together because of the subfields or the regions that we work in. So really thinking through that criteria and those pieces are important to the judging. And you can see that we have a weighted, and this is all in the application, but we have a weighted view of the judging and the different pieces of the judging as well. So kind of with that high level, we wanted to spend just a little bit of time on the application information. It's really easy. But like I said, the essays are kind of the biggest piece. But really that application overview, just some demographics. ASAE wants to know who's applying and who they're serving and who's sending in information. So really just whoever the contact is for the award. Sometimes we do reach out, or sometimes the contact will reach out to ASAE staff to ask about the awards and the applications themselves. If there's a consultant involved, we just need to know that. The association mission statement, just critical. The judges refer back to that mission statement a lot in thinking about the program. The association size, that membership, like I said, we have associations that have maybe 15 or 20 trade members. We have some that have 60,000 or 100,000 individual members, and we get great applications from everyone that applies. We want to know a little bit about the budget of your organization and your staff size, just to give a little bit of context, and the association website, which we can easily link to as we're reviewing the information. So after you get past the really easy stuff, we just start to look at the program details. So when I say we, I mean you filling the application out, but the judges certainly see the information as well. So we'll want to know if you have submitted this for an award before. You absolutely can resubmit as long as you haven't won an award. A program that has won an award, even if the scope has changed or it's been a few years, it cannot be re-entered. So it doesn't matter if you've submitted before, you can resubmit as long as you have not already gotten a gold, a silver, or a summit award for that program. So whether your program is ongoing, concluded, or open, so we have many programs that come in all of these different areas. I think the thing to really think about if you have an ongoing program is what outcomes you can show, because that's one of the big things that judges look at. Is it a really great program and you don't quite have outcomes yet, and you're so excited you want to submit it, you might want to reconsider until you have more outcomes. If it's a concluded program, you want to make sure that you have your outcomes and your information on there. So the next thing that you'll be talking about is the number of association volunteers involved. We understand that sometimes it's a guess. It's just the best guess that you've got for it. Some programs are small, so there might be only a few volunteers, and some involve larger pieces of the volunteer organization itself. Program budget size. I actually think we eliminated this one for this year. We used to ask about the budget size, but we actually took it out because the budget size itself doesn't matter. We just didn't update our slides well enough, I think. One thing that's really critical, and you can see it in red here, is the program the result of a partnership or coalition? And please list the other organizations here. We just want to know, and we want to make sure that you have reached out to these coalition partners to let them know that you are doing the official application for this award and listing them as a coalition. Unfortunately, every few years we do get surprised where somebody did not list a coalition partner, and that coalition partner sees on the website that another organization has won for a coalition project. And then we, when I say we, I mean ASAE staff, but also the chair and the vice chair, then are talking to the associations about how to handle that. So please, just for transparency, we want to make sure everybody who's been involved it gets their recognition within it, and recognizing your partners in the application is that first step. That is the extent of the demographics and just kind of the overall pieces of the application. It shouldn't take a lot of time to gather the information for it. Jim is going to work through the bulk of the application. It's only 3 or 4 parts, but it's really the part to be focusing on, and that's the importance of the essay area of the application. Jim.
Thanks, Victoria. As you mentioned, this is the bulk of the work that goes into the application. This is part of the application where you will share an appropriate background about how the program came together, what the steps you're taking to implement the initiative, and what outcomes resulted from your activity. Your program tells a story, so you should reflect this in your application. Next item. In particular, applications should have well-defined and measurable objectives that have significant data and information substantiating the impact that the program has on the members or society. And you keep going back. I'm going to go back to that if possible. Maybe not. There we go. Okay, this is the important thing here. The committee really relies heavily on your mission-focused specific answers to the questions in each of these stories. This is where your application is scored. There's a 10-point system that each of the judges scores each of the 3 essay questions. And that's an important thing in the overview of the activity. You'll be scored on 3 essay sections, okay? Please note that there are word limits and weighting here. New this year are there only 3 essay questions. We used to have 4. Now we have one that is weighted with 50% of the judging score. What we found is in 2 of the sections, a lot of the information was duplicated, and it was around a mix of words on outcomes and impact. And that's what we got back is we really want to focus on impact. What did your application, what did your program do? The second thing is you'll see here, we have bulleted questions. Your applications, these are what you want to answer directly, each of these questions, if they're at all applicable. We noted in some applications in the past that in the narrative description, people were missing the questions and sometimes kind of fluffing over certain parts of the essay questions. And so that's why you'll see we teased out bullets. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, overview of impact. Okay, we're going to go through. So this is 600 word count, and this is the meat of your essay section. It's weighted 50%. You describe how the program offers original effective solutions to important societal or business problems. As a program can receive an award only once, ongoing programs should carefully consider if you have sufficient data to convey demonstrable impact. And we've seen some that great programs just didn't have any data. So again, you're going to want to answer each of these questions, and please take time and use the entire word count that you can for each section. So first one is, what's the important problem or issue the association members or society, and why is it chosen? The second, what are the program's measurable objectives? Include significant data information substantiating the impact of the program on members and or society. Next is, and this is probably the most important question for you to answer. If you answer nothing else, answer this one, because if you can't answer this one, then the rest of your application does not kind of substantiate in judges' minds where you want to go. And that's, what are the impactful outcomes? Not just the outputs. Again, there's another program in ASAE that does marketing. That's more focused on outputs. This is on impactful outcomes and the effectiveness of the program. And then finally, last question in this section is, how does the program illustrate the association's vision for success, or protects the interests of members, or elevates the profession's or industry's image as a change agent? Second section that we have is the overview or the reach of the program. And that is, this is what you have to know is 300 word count, and it's weighted 25% of the overall score. So you provide a description of the audience that benefit or will benefit from this program, the audience type, size, etc., which may be local, state, national, international in scope. If the program expands your existing community reach, be sure to explain this. So the first question here is, how does the target audience benefit from this program? Or you can look at this as, is this audience positively impacted by your program? Second, if addressed by the program, how does it help diverse communities? Examples include supporting low-income communities, diverse communities due to geographics, race, gender, or sexuality. Not every program focuses on this. If it doesn't, you can say that. But again, I wouldn't walk past this question. Just say that that's not an emphasis of your program. The last question in the reach area, could this program be duplicated or modeled at the local, state, national, or international level for other organizations? And or does it showcase the important work of associations? The third area, the third essay question is what we call power of associations. And again, this is a 300-word count limit in this section, and it is valued at 25% of the overall essay questions. Use this section to share how your program showcases the power of associations by leveraging your association's available resources to address an identified need, or to show agility in responding to an identified issue, need, or problem. Award-winning entries effectively showcase, now the first question is, how the program involved association members, staff, or help to coalesce other organizations. And the second question in the power of associations is, given the association's mission, why is this program extraordinary? How does it go beyond members to include the industry or society? The final area is supporting data. One more click. There's one more section here. There it is. Okay. Oops. Let's go back again. Thanks. So you're going to attach in a single file any other data reports, articles, materials that support the information that you provided. Okay. Here's an insider's trick. Okay. The data supporting section, you have to describe what is in the document. So you have another 300-word count section. If you're smart, and I've seen some great applications, what they'll do is they'll cross-reference this section. So rather than trying to go into detail into one of the sections, it'll say, noted in the supporting data is this, and you can kind of talk about the outcome or the impact. You can go into more detail here in describing that in the attached file. So you can use the supporting data section to kind of support some things that you've said in the essay section, kind of back and forth. I've seen on some award winning applications it's done very effectively. So just another kind of addition that you can add information if you're finding it's really difficult to squeeze it all into one of the three essay questions. All right, the final, you'll acknowledge and consent that you have the authority to submit this. And again, as mentioned by Victoria, please note that we've had cases where somebody kind of does something that's part of a coalition and doesn't tell anybody else. And they find out about that, and some very hurt feelings are that they haven't been included. So it's better to do that up front. And then you grant ASAE to basically use this information in perpetuity on any way or medium the application, such as the materials are incorporated into the application, use that for promotional purposes. And we're about to go into how some of those promotional purposes are in two of the videos of award-winning entries.
The Association for Home and Hospice Care of North Carolina is one of the oldest and largest state home care and hospice associations in the United States. We represent home care, home health, hospice, and palliative care agencies. Our mission is resources, education, advocacy, and leadership. We wanted to address our nursing shortage in home health and hospice. And so we used our foundation to get a grant to address the shortage of nurses by working with schools of nursing and our member agencies. The program's impact has been dramatically overwhelming. We were able to accomplish successful rotation models and onboarding where everyone was exposed to more support in home health and hospice. I've been in this industry 31 years. The associations or an association exists to serve its members and to listen to its members' needs. That is what an association should do for its member agencies, and we have accomplished that.
For families across America, a trip to the local laundromat is part of a weekly routine. And as a collective voice for laundry professionals, the Coin Laundry Association believes it has a responsibility to give back to the communities it serves. That's why the association launched the Laundry Cares Foundation, which has partnered with the Clinton Foundation's Too Small to Fail initiative to support childhood literacy for families in poverty. The program engages children and whole families in meaningful reading activities during their visits to the laundromat, facilitating better outcomes for children by addressing the most significant factor influencing a child's early educational success, an introduction to books. ASAE is pleased to honor the Coin Laundry Association with the 2020 Power of A Summit Award.
So those were two Summit Award winners, one from 2023 and one from 2020. And we wanted to show you a couple of things. Those were kind of smaller associations that focus on a specific audience, but also were able to branch out to try to either increase their audience or create more impact for their audience. Looking at the Home Health and Hospice Association and the nursing shortage impacting so much. Like, how do we have more nurses in here? How do we work in coalition? How do we work together to help with that crisis, to make it less of a crisis? And then Coin Laundry Association, who would have thought that a Coin Laundry Association would be working for literacy causes and for bringing in tutors and others to help while families are waiting for their laundry to be done? What an amazing point to supporting mission and community by taking a big step like that and being able then to work with foundations to get more monies for it. So both of those are terrific examples of mission focus, but in very different ways, and really showing impacts to communities. So we wanted to bring those forward. There are a number of videos, dozens of them, from ASAE over the years, and you can see the programs that have won Summit Awards. Remember that it's your program. You shouldn't be modeling something exactly off another winning program. It's your program with your voice. And we have a few application tips for you. And then I think we're going to talk about the Summit Awards and maybe have some time. I know we'll have time for questions. So looking at application tips, just some best practices. Just starting with the really simple ones of making sure you have an ASAE login and password ready. We all do things at the last minute, right? So just make sure that you have your account ready to go. Online, the application guide is terrific. It's a way just to really kind of show you what you should be thinking of. It goes through every part of the application and talks about it. It also has some general information on judging criteria. Jim and I have talked about that, but we have some public criteria as well. I just put the link to the application guide in here.
And here's a trick before we go. I take and copy that identification, particularly essay questions, whatnot. What I like to do when I was applying for these is I would copy those offline. So you can work on those documents. You don't have to kind of have it in front of you. You have those things, and even the entire application guide, you can take those, you can reference that. It's much easier to kind of work and develop those essay questions. So you can refine them, you can send them to other people, and then you can come back and you submit it all at once.
Yeah. And I did the same thing when I was working on the other side, right, Jim? Now we're on the committee side, before when we were on the application side ourselves. You can also spell check easier outside the system. Jim and I both mentioned the categories and the importance of having the focus, identifying the right category. Again, that application guide has a bit of a definition for the category. You can only apply into one category for your program, so you need to choose the best fit and then, write your essays to kind of reflect that category. Also, as a reminder, public relations campaigns or flat out marketing campaigns are not part of this. That's not within the scope of this application and this project and awards. That's the Gold Circle Awards. If something is submitted that is viewed as a PR campaign and a marketing campaign, ASAE staff and the chair and the vice chair of the committee will discuss whether it is appropriate for this awards group, and then we would communicate that with the group that had actually put the application in. So Jim talked about those criterias and the impact really being the biggest one that we look at with outcomes for the judging, from the judging perspective, looking at that reach, that impact, and how this embodies how associations work. And really looking online at that piece of work and those pieces. We want to address all essay sections directly. And, Jim had talked about, it's important to make sure that you're addressing the questions in there. But if something doesn't apply to you, or there's a more emphasized spot or a stronger spot, you don't feel like you have to go through every little piece of it. Make sure that it gives the full picture of your program as you're answering those questions. I think for best practices,
Start early. So if you wait to the last couple days before the deadline, we can see in some applications that, ooh, this one was rushed, or there's misspellings or things like that. So start early on this. I would typically start at least a month out, sometimes longer, and start to develop, give yourself plenty of time to kind of formulate those essay responses to the essay questions.
and we've got a little more than 2 weeks before the deadline, so plenty of time to work on it. The Summit Awards, the honorees are they are honored at the honorees and honored, terrible English, sorry, at the Summit Awards dinner. It is a fundraiser actually for the Foundation for ASAE for the work that they do, and it is being held this year, Thursday, September 25th at 2025. There are hundreds of association executives and staff, as well as vendor partners within the association world who come to this to fundraise and to see the Summit Award winners be honored and to see the videos that are displayed of their work. You can see that it's 6:30 reception and dinner at 7:30. 500 people attended, and apparently we're having a Nashville entertainer this year.
Well, that's something actually that they've done for some time. Now, the first thing I would tell you is if you haven't been in the National Building Museum, is probably one of the best, my favorite places to hold an event. Huge columns, as you can kind of see in the background, but it's a really great event just to kind of come and be seen and see others. So the Nashville Tourism Bureau has sponsored for, gosh, the last, I think, 25 years now. They brought an entertainer from Nashville, and usually an up and coming kind of entertainer. I remember my year, there's this guy named Tim McGraw. Yeah, you might have heard of him, famous wife, Faith Hill, whatnot. So you never know who you're gonna get, but most of these people kind of go on. They're up and rising stars, and it's a lot of fun. They're really good. So it's a great way to kind of see some up and coming Nashville stars in the making.
It is. It's a fun time to what Jim said, see and be seen. Organizations that are larger and might be able to sponsor a whole table can do that. There's also individual tickets. And of course, the Summit Awards winners come on in for that as well. So I think we are at the Let's Talk/questions part of our session. And I know I have some ready to go if we don't have any questions kind of bumping around. So something that we've talked about, and I know Mary Kate, you're on again, but something we've talked about is the PR campaigns and the marketing campaigns. Not in that's for the gold circles, but who is eligible to enter? So that's associations of all types and all sizes. So that's professional or trade. Any association will work. An AMC can submit an application on behalf of their clients. Obviously they should tell their clients they're submitting that and work with the clients on it, but AMCs actually can submit on behalf. And then industry partners that have coordination with associations, again, they would be part of that affiliation. So it is the association that should be doing the application, but there can be affiliations with industry within the coalitions that are there. We get some questions about the recognition for Beyond the Summit Awards. Like I said, the Silver Award and the Gold Award are recognized on the ASAE website. They are also recognized at the Summit Awards dinner on video screens that display throughout the night. There's usually several dozen of those. So those organizations are also getting recognition as well. The supporting data and information, like Jim said, it can be really good to reflect back to your application with it. Please keep in mind that those essays, the impact, the reach, and the power of associations are the real core. The supporting data is called supporting data for a reason. We really want to hear and see about the overall piece of your program within those essays. Jim, were there any other, because we usually
there's
see a bunch of questions.
There's a couple questions here. There's a technical one. When I log into the portal under overview of activity, I don't see a fill in the answer. It's actually, you'll go into each of the essay questions. So if you're not seeing kind of a synopsis of each of the three and kind of bulleted answers, you probably haven't gotten to that level. But there is a box where you can essentially paste in or type in up to the word limit for each of those three essay sections. Plus, as we mentioned, you can attach one document, any kind of supporting materials, and then describe that a little bit more. So those are, you probably just haven't gotten to that. The second question is, what is the proper status for an annual leadership academy? What would that be, an ongoing or open program? Yes, usually most of leadership academies would be ongoing or open. As far as categories, I think you're going to have to decide. A leadership could be done a couple different ways. It could be more advocacy based. It could be more you're trying to develop the industry. So you have to kind of decide which category it fits best in. And then, as Victoria mentioned a couple of times, it's really just whatever category you pick, just make sure you kind of wrap your answers into that category. Sometimes it's a jump ball between a couple areas. Just make sure whatever you do to support it is kind of wrapped into that category and kind of reflects that category and not the other one.
Yeah, and I saw Mary Kate put that note, sent a note about the how do you choose to, and Jim was just starting with that answer. And I think, put the link to the application portal already in the chat. And in that, when you start looking at the category definitions, it should become easier for you to choose one. And then to what Jim said, really kind of wrapping your answers around that. If you're doing some kind of advocacy work, to what he was just addressing, there is a power of advocacy that very specifically says, like, promoting civil discourse, collaboration between government and the private sector. And then there's a few more sentences. But if you're thinking, oh, maybe the work we're doing is community support and engagement, that one really looks at different areas, look at professional specific expertise and resources to an immediate crisis, looking at a societal problem, enhancing public awareness. So the category definitions should help you decide, make your decision, stick with it, and then really work on the essays with it.
Okay, here's another. So the application was just posted, and then we have another question from Clarence, and he says, if we partner with host sites, should they be listed at coalition partners and be notified? Or is that a description of more focused or other associations that would help provide volunteers for the project that we're highlighting? You want to take the first crack at that, Victoria? So host sites, I'm not quite sure. Host sites, typically what happens, and we'll see this with advocacy activities. So either at the national level or state level, it's not one organization, but it could be multiple organizations. I was involved in a project called Early Hearing Detection Intervention. And what we did is we were the submitting site. We helped get the funding in Congress, line all that. There were other supporting organizations that participated with us on those activities. We listed those organizations. And as it winded out, there was actually contractors. So we had some of the folks who were actually implementing the program that got funded. So those are a way that you can kind of, and we made sure we notified everybody, show them what we were doing ahead of the time. I hope that's helpful.
And we've seen applications that have coalitions with like 20 partners. Usually it's 3 or 4 and you stick to the associations, but if there's a vendor that is really critical to it and is really changing things to make sure that this program is moving forward, then you can consider that. It looks at like how are you partnering, right? And how are they affiliated with the association industry?
Right. And you could use, in this particular, if you have different host sites, I mean, you could take images of those host sites or something like that, and that could be in your support materials file. You're welcome. Glad we were able to answer one question. Any other questions out there? I want to be respectful of your time.
I've got a question we receive a lot, and you may have kind of touched on this, but it's always hard to decide when is the time to apply or when you should wait for more results. So what's your advice to those people?
So if you feel, I work for a scientific society, so we're all over the data, right? So if you feel like you have enough data and specific outcomes that show the impact of your program, even if it's ongoing, then I think you're ready to submit. If you have more of the qualitative, kind of like, oh, the community's really excited about it, it's really gaining some traction. If you can't attach some data to it or some specific partnership work to it and some outcomes, then I'd say you probably want to hold off because it may be, and we've seen it before. We've as a judging committee, we've talked about, oh my gosh, what an amazing program, and it has very few outcomes, or the outcomes are very small right now. And if they had waited 1 year, 2 years, like this would be potentially an award-winning program. So really just make sure that you have some data that's supporting information that can really show the impacts. And again, impacts aren't, you have to impact the entire world. It is how are you impacting based on your mission, as well as your community and your audience. And Jim, what other thoughts do you have on that?
Yeah, no, I think it goes back to the idea of your program's measurable objectives. And do you have data and other information to substantiate the impact? So I think that's really the key. I will tell you, when I submitted for an association that won a Summit Award, I think we waited like an additional 3 years. We thought this was a good idea. Our PR people wanted us to do it, and go, no, not you. We know these numbers are going to improve. We know, the diagnosis date is going to really kind of come down, or we think it's going to come down in the next couple of years. So sometimes you just have to be patient if you're really confident in your program and where it's going.
And for a program that I worked on that also won an award, we submitted it for the 2020 awards, and it was a 2019 program, but we had been leading up to that 2019 program with kind of lead-in projects since 2017. So 2019 was our big like wham. This is when all the programs are really going to be happening with our organization, but we had already started on a soft kind of programming for 2 years before that. So we knew we had outcomes when we applied in 2020. We could have waited until 2021, but that was because the program itself had already been running in the background for a couple of years. So again, it depends on your program and what you've got from it.
Any other questions from the audience? Any other, Mary Kate or Victoria, any other things that you think that come up that the audience it would be helpful for them to know that we haven't touched upon?
I think for supporting information, I'm trying to think of the questions that Mary Kate and I usually like start flinging back and forth at each other as deadlines approach. And one is, what can supporting information be? We've seen links to websites, PowerPoint presentations, essays. We've seen letters from affected communities. So again, you want to choose something that's going to be impactful. And go back to what your essays are. We've seen links to videos online. So things that will really give more of that context of all the impact you've made, but there isn't necessarily a specific medium from which they can be. They can come from all kinds of areas.
And sometimes they're charts, graphs, or they're basically, here are the outcomes, and they've kind of done what they highlighted in the essay section, but they've kind of blown that out into kind of a way that that can be presented to others. So very graphical representation of the outcomes. That's helpful. That just like, oh, okay. Some people are, and I'm sure some of our judges are more visual oriented and how they pick up information. So I found that sometimes when they do that, that's often kind of, oh, thank you for presenting it like that. I didn't quite see it from what I read in the essay. That helped a lot.
I think a question we get usually after the awards have been announced is we get queries, usually to the ASAE staff, on, what could I have done better in my application? Or I thought my award was, we all think our programs are going to win awards. I thought my program was going to win an award and didn't win one. Can you give me some advice? Publicly, we have our judging criteria. We have some very specific information on the essays and questions that we want answered. We keep, as a judging committee, all of our discussions are confidential, so judges would not provide any extra information to any applicant. We will always refer you to that application guide and to the judging criteria that are listed publicly to help guide everyone. And ASAE staff will do the same thing. So while we understand if you apply and you don't receive a gold, a silver, or summit award, understand the disappointment. I've been part of the application process myself, but really we have a lot of information focused publicly to help guide the applications for now and for the future. The committee and ASAE team members update that application guide and update that judging criteria every single year to make sure that it is the best it can be for applicants.
Thank you so much to Victoria and Jim for sharing, and we really hope folks could apply for the awards. We'd love to tell your story, especially as we work to tell Congress and outside audiences about the power of associations. So thank you so much.